Hey everyone, I'm Siobhan and welcome to our class on ostomies and intimacy from Better Health. Today we're going to tackle one of the toughest topics people face after surgery, and that's how your ostomy impacts your emotional health, your romantic relationships, and your sex life. I'm going to walk you through it all though, what to know about dating, or how to talk to your partner about your ostomy, and what you should know about how surgery can impact your sexual function. I'd like to take a quick moment to introduce who we are. We are Better Health, and we are a new kind of medical provider. We take a holistic view of your healthcare journey, so that includes things like ostomy education classes, resources on our website, including articles and videos, infographics. We also offer an exclusive member benefit called peer coaching. You can work with a peer coach who also has an ostomy one-on-one to overcome any specific challenges you might be having. And then finally, we have a team of product experts who receive ongoing training about ostomies and products to ensure that they help you find the best products for your needs. And who better to lead these ostomy classes than somebody who has an ostomy herself? I'm Siobhan, and this is me. I've had an ostomy for 6 years. It was a major challenge, and I'm sure we've shared some of the same experience around leaks and overnight explosions and stomach aches and products that go wrong, all of that good stuff. So, just know that I'm offering you my insider knowledge. I've been there and done that and had to learn, and I'm passing it on. All right, enough about me. Let's dive in. And oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. I was doing my background research for this class, and I talked to medical professionals, other ostomate partners, and I realized that we could probably do like a whole series on this topic. So first, let me say bravo and well done on being here today. It's not an easy thing to talk about. And if you're thinking about emotions and relationships and sex and dating, that's a great thing because, it means that you are feeling good, that you are hopeful and optimistic. You're making a good adjustment to your ostomy. And you want to you want to up the ante on the quality of life. So excellent. In fact, it's a good setup for what makes a relationship successful. Being vulnerable, being open to receiving other people's emotions, using good communication, things like I need statements, and then candidness, be clear and direct. Don't kind of beat around the bush and hope that the other person can infer or guess what you really are trying to say. Speaking of keeping it real, your ostomy can feel like an uninvited third wheel in your relationship. And, I find it helpful to view my own ostomy the same way I would the impact of having a baby or a pet would have on your relationship. And that's not to say that, one or the other will have bigger or lesser impact, but the point is that some of it is within your control if you bring a baby or a pet into your life, but a lot of it's kind of out of your control, and you just have to have some strategies in place, some plans in place to manage it the best way that you can. One of the most important things is, keep in mind that your partner also experiences your ostomy, and they need a couple of key things that you yourself needed: time to adjust, support from you, and some education about how that ostomy even works. Let's dive into dating. Here are some very common questions about dating that I want to address for you. Very first common question is, can I date with an ostomy? Yes, of course you can date with an ostomy. Go out there and, meet your match. Will people want to date me? Well, the answer is unequivocally yes, but let's face it, you might need to weed out some stinkers who only see your ostomy bag or your medical condition and not the real you. We have to acknowledge that not everyone can handle what we bring to the table. So there are so many people, however, who can. And given what I've heard talking to ostomates and their partners, there's no shortage of people who will put in the effort to get to know the real you, ostomy bag and all. A lot of people want to know when the best time to talk about their ostomy bag is with their potential romantic partner. And the answer is there's no one right time. You should do it when you feel ready, but sooner is probably better. The perfect time is probably when you're starting to feel like you want to be intimate and you're building an emotional connection. You know, that the foundation of a good relationship is about that open and honest communication. How do I explain what an ostomy is? Well, if with your partner, if they're unfamiliar with an ostomy, meaning you met after you had surgery, you can do some research together, or separately, and come together and talk about what you learned and found. Then if they are comfortable with that, you can take out your supplies and explain what they do and how each of them works. It's up to them if they're ready to kind of look at that ostomy bag that's on your abdomen live and in action. You may have to do baby steps, but eventually they'll get there. And then explore how your ostomy impacts each person. So, as I said, your partner also experiences your ostomy for better or for worse, in terms of accommodations that you might need, or being aware of the supplies that you need to have on hand, or your meeting or your eating schedules, or your nighttime wake ups. All of those things will have impact on them as well. Now, we hear from a lot of ostomates that they feel that someone will reject them for their ostomy bag, and they don't even want to get out there and try to meet somebody who might reciprocate their feelings. So if that's the case, think about what you want out of a relationship and be clear on your goals. It's often the case that we may not be exactly ready for dating if we don't feel good about ourselves yet. So it can take time to adjust your ostomy and give yourself that time to become confident. Now let's move naturally, as one does, from dating to long-term relationships. There are two kinds of long-term relationships. There's the one that starts prior to having your ostomy. So I fall into that category. I didn't have my ostomy surgery until my husband and I had been together almost 16 years. Then there's the other category where people have an ostomy before they move into the long-term relationship. So there are some similarities between long-term relationships and dating as far as how to handle what you want to let people know about your ostomy and how much to share. Now, if you were in a relationship before you needed ostomy surgery and you had something like irritable bowel disease flare up, or Crohn's flare up, or you had cancer happen, then it could be the case that you were ill for a long time before you received your ostomy surgery. So the good news is that you're starting to feel healthier. You're ready to return to a state where you're not so sick. You're not laying in bed all day, or you're able to leave the house again. So in that time period, you should also give your partner time to adjust. And the reason that I point this out is because our partners need time to go from thinking about us as invalids, as people who are sick or might be delicate, to people who are feeling better and who are able to take some risks and who are able to sort of stretch some limits and challenge themselves. One of the things that will help you and your partner have that good rapport and to help you both adapt is that good communication. So again, honesty, being direct, being clear, being frank. And then you also want to allow your partner the opportunity, the ability to be involved to the level of their comfort. I point this out because some partners are very gung-ho on helping and want to learn how to change pouches and barriers, and some partners would rather not see that part of the process. So it's important to respect their limits and their boundaries in terms of what they're able to do for you, if it's changing pouches or just letting you handle it. And give them a lot of credit. Our long-term relationship partners are amazing human beings. I talk to so many people who are supporting their husbands or their wives, even their mothers or brothers or sisters, and being their caretaker. And they do an amazing job at it, and they are so supportive, and they deserve all kinds of applause. So give them all the credit that they have earned. Hopefully you're a little bit warmed up now, and let's move on to sex. let's talk about what might have changed after ostomy surgery. Unfortunately, I think this part is skimmed over by a lot of doctors. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have, and we don't get the education we need to know before we have surgery. So sometimes we are told that the outcomes may not be totally positive, and I hate to be the the bearer of bad news, but it does happen for some people that their sexual function is impaired. But you should also take the time before surgery to really go into detail with your surgeon and ask questions about what they can do to mitigate any risks or damage to your sexual organs. So everyone should know that surgery does take place near or on sexual organs. There's no way around it. If you're removing your bladder, if you're removing your large intestines, the surgeon is going to be in there among those organs, the prostate, the vagina, all those good things, all those great organs. So something could be inadvertently damaged. Specifically, let's talk about what you might experience in terms of sexual function and impairment. For men, that could mean reduced sensation, ability to orgasm, reduced ability to have or maintain an erection, changes to the pelvic floor, changes to urination. So these are conversations to be having with your doctor, both pre-surgery and post-surgery, and bring them up. For women, that can also mean reduced sensation and the ability to orgasm, changes to the pelvic floor, which might impact your continence, your urinary continence, changes to the vagina and the uterus, and changes to menstruation. And changes to urination, which is that continence thing. So again, don't be afraid to bring up these changes to the doctor. Sometimes something can be done to help you regain that sexual function. And it can take some time for full or potential feeling to return after you've had surgery. So if you're experiencing some numbness or some inability to gain an erection or feel stimulation, it may just be a matter of months. It does take a long time for those nerves to regenerate. Let's address some of the common questions we get about sex. Most common, can I have sex if I have an ostomy? Yes, you can absolutely have sex as long as your partner is on board and your doctor has given you clearance. How long should I wait to have sex? Again, that's a doctor question, but make sure you feel ready also, physically and emotionally. There's going to be some scar tissue that you may be tender for a while. In fact, you should let your partner know about any tender spots, especially for those of us who have had our rectums removed in what's called a total proctocolectomy. It can take that area quite a while to heal, and so you should let your partner know that it can feel tender, it can be prone to tearing easily. So you want to adjust your bedroom strategies based on your comfort levels. I'm going to give you some real talk here. Of all the things I've put my ostomy pouch through, from hiking to surfing to weightlifting, traveling around the world, sex seems to be the most impactful on my pouch. And, so yes, I've had some blowouts during sex, and it was not like a calm little air leak. It was like a kind of a huge pouch got over full and things went everywhere. So, I think my partner was more embarrassed than I was. I just got cleaned up the bed, and then we tried again later. So be willing to laugh, make a plan, maybe put down some extra protection on the bed as you're still learning to have sex, and to guard against any accidents. Check for leaks before any activity. If you've had your pouch on for a few days, you may want to consider whether or not it is there's enough life in it to withstand sexy times. Make sure to empty your pouch ahead of time. And then some partners report that the bag is very distracting. I definitely feel this way. The bag is very distracting. So with that in mind, there's a variety of ostomy wraps that you can buy, that will help hold the pouch in place, keep it still, keep it from being a third wheel. And I highly recommend those as a strategy to put your attention where it belongs. Set the mood. Don't be afraid to really kind of go overboard on that romantic stuff. Candles, The sexy talk, the treating each other to a nice dinner ahead of time. And then, afterwards, talk with your partner, have some pillow talk and learn, what worked for them and what worked for you and what didn't work. And then you can kind of grow together and move on to the next time and figure out what can make it better. All right, so we've reached the end of our ostomy class, and I like to leave you with a few takeaways. I know that often during these classes, there's a ton of information presented in a short time. So even if you forget everything else, here's what I want you to remember. Be a good communicator. Share how your ostomy affects you with your partner and actively listen to them to learn how it affects them. As I said, some partners will be very involved in your ostomy care. Some partners will not, and that's fine. But just as long as you keep that open dialogue, you should have no problems managing your ostomy in your relationship. It's a team effort. So you and your partner both have a responsibility to each other to make the relationship work. And it can be the case sometimes that partners just can't hang when you've had a huge change like ostomy surgery. And it's just part of life. Again, be clear and direct. The best way to get what you want is to ask for it. And you can do this. You're not alone. Lots of people have successful relationships with an ostomy. Thank you so much for joining us today for our class on intimacy and ostomies from Better Health. For more information or to join us, call the number on the screen or visit joinbetter.com.